Greetings. Hello. Welcome. Once again, welcome to Wolf's Fine Line Tattoo in Joliet, Illinois. My name's Christian Burnell. This is things I have learned from tattooing. Little things that I feel like tattooing taught me or drove home for me that I hope can help other artists and creatives. If you were here last time, I issued a challenge. I said, we'll wake up every day for a week and try thinking of things that you are grateful for or thankful for in your life. And I said that I would do it as well. I don't know if any of you did, but I did. And I think it genuinely made a difference in my day. I wouldn't say that if it didn't. It was kind of odd because I felt like I did a gratitude practice regularly. Like throughout my days, I would try to think of things that I was lucky for or things that made me happy, but they didn't seem to have any. It didn't seem to create a change in me or my mood at any particular time. Whereas doing it first thing in the morning definitely did. I don't want to overstate it, but it did seem to make a difference in how my morning went, at least. There were some days that I came home and by the end of the night I was a little irritated or mad about one thing or another. But starting the day off in that kind of mood was very pleasant. No matter what else happened, like within that morning, I felt good. I was happier, if that makes sense. So I would encourage any of you to do that. If this is your first time watching a video, my suggestion was just to wake up in the morning and think of 3 things that you're grateful for before you start your day. And I'm going to continue doing it because I felt it worked so good. Another thing from the last video that I wanted to sort of add to this one was for like at the end of the video, I think I mentioned that to normal people who don't have an artistic practice, that you should pick up an artistic practice if you were seeing things in the way that artists can see it. But I wanted to add that if you do pick up an artistic practice, I'm not suggesting that it has to become some sort of side hustle. Don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. If you're doing art specifically to make money, that's not a good thing, usually. But it does, like I said, it doesn't have to be a side hustle. It doesn't have to be something, you don't even have to show it to others. Yes, art is meant to be shown, and it's, I would always suggest sharing it with others, but if you don't, that's fine too. If it's just for you, that's totally fine. Just doing it in general, it would be good for your soul. Just like we know that having, physical exercise or activities are good for your physical body, having an artistic practice is like good exercise for your soul. And yes, I work out and I practice martial arts, so there's definitely an argument that could be made that doing physical things are also good for your soul. But making art works the soul in a different way. It lets you express yourself, and it just does things in a different way than physical activity does, I think anyway. There are actually, I don't want to say a lot of them, but there are artists who are kind of famous because, or not because, but became famous after they died. And I'm not just talking about like Van Gogh. There was a janitor, actually, oddly enough, the 2 people I'm thinking of are both janitors, but it was a guy named Henry Darger. He was a janitor at a Chicago hospital. And after he died, people found manuscripts for books that he had written. One of them was over 15,000 pages long, and he had hundreds of paintings and drawings for that book. One of the they're watercolor paintings, one of them was over 30 feet long. There was also another guy named James Hampton. He was a janitor who, over a period of 14 years, he had rented out this garage and made this sculpture or assemblage of things that he never showed anybody. Darger either, never shared it with friends or family. But after Hampton died, his landlord went over there to find out where the rent had been paid and went into this garage that he had built this thing in and was blown away by what he found. Up to this day, that work is in the Smithsonian. It's on permanent display at the Smithsonian. It is widely regarded as one of the greatest pieces of visionary artwork ever made. Again, never showed it to anybody. That doesn't mean that you have to be that or strive for that. But there are people who've done significant things and just never shown anybody. It's all right to keep it to yourself, okay? Now, let's move on to what today's topic is. So today, again, something you've probably heard a million times and probably meant a little bit of something different each time. Today, I am going to say one of the things that tattooing really got into me was trust in the process. Or for our purposes, I'm going to say trust in your process. Now, early on in my tattoo career, and if I'm being honest, I mean, even today, there are pieces that can give me some anxiety. But early on, when there was a piece that I had to do that was kind of scary for me, I would really sweat it. I wouldn't sleep right the night before. And I remember when the client would be there, sometimes I'd be right around the corner, like looking at them, like, oh, what have I done? Like, oh my God, can I do this? But I had to remind myself, trust in the process, trust in my process. I would not have told these people that I could do this if I couldn't do it, or if I didn't believe that I could do it. And the only reason I believed I could do it was because I was able to look at that picture and disassemble it into my process. I work in a shop that takes walk-ins, and yeah, sometimes what we do can vary in complexity from day to day or even hour to hour. And sometimes people ask us, how do you do it? How do you produce, pieces over and over, without long days of preparation, or like people don't always come in for appointments the week before or 2 weeks before, a month before. And the reason we're able to do that is because we have a process. We already know how to get from point A to B. We've done it thousands of times. Now, some of you may already have a process. Some of you may just have one and not really be aware of it, or you just don't really think about it, like me before tattooing. Some of you might actually be thinking, I don't have a process. And to those people, I would either say, yes, you do. Most of us do. It just may take a bit of sort of like introspection and looking back over how you work things out to build yourself one, to figure out how to map it out for yourself again. Or I would say B, get one, make one, figure it out. One way or another, have a process. It helps out with a lot of things. I'll go over some of the benefits of what I think the benefits of having a process are. One is it helps you be more productive. It helps you sort of streamline and organize what you go through, and you'll be able to finish more. Especially if you have multiple projects or work in multiple mediums like I do. It will help you think about work. It will help you think about your art as work, and it'll help you attack it like work, which may seem odd or antithetical to some of you, but it's not. Artwork is work, okay? Despite what some people may think, it's not all playtime. It's not all roses and woo. Inspiration is for amateurs. Okay, the rest of us just get to work. That's a Chuck Close quote, I believe. It's just work that you can love. It's work that you can pour yourself into. It's work where you get to call all the shots. But work has to be productive, right? And part of getting better at anything is by producing a lot, okay? Having a process will help you figure out your strengths and your weaknesses. What are your favorite parts of creating? What are the parts you really don't like? Maybe there are things that you can change or tweak for the better. Maybe there are things you want to get better at, and you can prioritize, I need to take a class in this, or I need to figure out how to do this better. Maybe there are some things that you can completely get rid of from your process. Maybe there are things that you can delegate out to other people or a company and have somebody else do that, and that way you have more time to do what you're best at, or your favorite parts of your process of creation. Having a process, it'll also help you, or at least for me, it'll help you analyze other people's work and processes a little bit better. I remember I was working a convention with a friend of mine, and he's a great tattoo artist in his own right. But there was a guy there that was absolutely killing it with these color portraits. They were fucking amazing. And as we were packing up one day, we were walking past that guy again and looking at his work. He had won a bunch of awards at the show. And I remember my friend saying to me that, like, I could never do that. I would never be able to do that. But I had to argue with him. I was like, no, we could both do that. It's just a process. It's just a technique that he has. I'd watched him over the 3 days of the convention. I watched the way he set up and the way he worked, and I was able to discern that he's just working a specific process. Obviously, there are technical things going on that you need to be able to do within each step of that process. But for the most part, if we break down, as long as I'm confident that I can do those things and I can apply the tattoo correctly, and I followed that process, I believe that I could do that. The majority of artistic seminars, books, videos, whatever, they're all just teaching you a process or a part of somebody's process or a technical aspect of somebody's process. Being able to recognize and conceptualize others and your process will have a tremendous amount of benefit for any one of us. Now, these next two reasons are probably, or I would say easily, like my favorite part of why you should have a process. One is, as you work with and perfect your process, your trust and confidence in that process will grow. And as you grow that trust and confidence in your process, you will grow trust and confidence in yourself. And that's invaluable for every one of us, right? This thing you made is working. Remember, it's yours. You did that. Even if it's a process, even if it's just a 1, 2, 3 thing, you have done that. You came up with that. And lastly, as artists, we're always looking to be better, right? And being aware of your process and the processes of others, as your comfort with that process grows and your confidence with that process grows, you'll feel a bit more comfortable stepping out. You'll feel a bit more comfortable stretching. In order to get better at something, you always need to sort of skirt that line of your abilities, where you're just pushing what you're comfortable with and what you're scared of, or like how far you can go. And the more confident you are in your process, the more willing you'll be to get up to that line or just straight up cross it sometimes. So do I have you sold yet? Does that making sense? But trust me, don't worry. No, I'm not going to try to sell you on some sort of class or something like right now. But I think those are killer reasons for trying to have a process or making one for yourself. So again, maybe you're like, okay, how do I have a process? Like I said, most of us probably do already. It's just a matter of figuring it out. Some of us may have one and just not really think about it, or some may not even be cognizant that they have one. For you, I'd say figure it out. Okay, look back over how you've worked in the past and how you finished things, and sort of map it out for yourself. Maybe you have to write it down, maybe you don't. I have things. I have all my processes are I have things broke down into like assembly line like processes, from A to B, and they make room for them. It's sort of they make room for days that I'm not feeling it. So there are parts of the artistic process that kind of bore me, or don't seem very or don't seem very artistic, you know, for the days I'm not motivated or feeling, you know, inspired. There are parts of the artistic process that are like that, and that way I always have something to do, and there's never a day that I can say I'm not feeling it. There's stuff that I can still be doing that are sort of robotic almost, and those are the things I do on those days. And more often than not, it's the work that is going to make those things happen. It's the work that's going to make you feel motivated. It's the work that's going to make you feel inspired. More often than not, it's not a vice versa thing. Yeah, there's going to be days where you're just like, I'm ready to go, and you'll do it. But most often, there's going to be the days where you kind of have to get in there and work. I've got something I could do every day. There's never a day that I don't have something I can do on some piece of artwork. For those who say, I don't have one, and you genuinely don't, get some books, watch some videos, take some classes, take some seminars, whatever. There's nothing wrong with aping somebody else's process, okay? Eventually, you will make it your own. The reason so much old art that we see looks so similar is because art used to be taught like a trade, okay? You went to a specific school, learned a specific process from a specific artist, and it wasn't seen as a bad thing if your art looked like your master's art or your mentor's art. This whole idea of us being able to, of everybody having their own style and doing just whatever they want, that's actually kind of a new thing, like in the grand timeline of civilization. If I'm right, it's really only 150-ish years old of us doing that. Last time I talked about some of our responsibilities as artists, and that's one of them, is to share what you know. Okay, so don't be afraid to take in other people's knowledge. All right, and you should be sharing as well. Sometimes somebody younger than you, somebody newer than you, sometimes even somebody completely non-artistic can say something that can improve your process, that can improve your art, and you need to be open to that. Don't get dogmatic either. Yes, if something works for you, that's good. It's good to stick with it, but always be prepared and looking for ways to tweak that out and change it. Always be looking for ways that you can take in more, and your process should change over time. It'll change with you. It'll grow with you. As you get better and you grow, so should the process. That's it. I would say, again, if you don't have a process, figure one out. Find one. Take somebody else's. Whatever you can do. There's tons of them out there. If you do have a process and you just haven't figured it out, look back on all the stuff you've done and how you like to work and figure one out for yourself. I think it would be, again, a tremendous help to you in a lot of different ways. I hope that helps. Let me know what you think. Am I full of shit? Am I onto something here? I know that having a process and trusting in the process, like I said, once I started tattooing and I looked back, oh yeah, I actually do have processes for all these things. And once I became more confident in them, I started producing more stuff, and my workflow in general just actually became a flow, as opposed to just sort of every time thinking it was going to be some new experience where I just spontaneously created. That's fine and good, and there are times for that. But depending on the type of artist you are, and what you want to produce, or how you want to produce, having a process can be invaluable. So, once again, thanks for coming by. I'll get better at these closures. I think I'm getting a little better at my process of making these videos. You let me know. I'm glad you showed up today, or I'm glad you watched the video. Once again, thank you for coming. I'll see you next week. Once again, I'll try to drop these on Tuesdays. I don't know how many more of these I'll actually have, but I'll keep making different things after that. Don't worry. Again, love you all. Hope to see you soon. Have a great week. I'm telling you, do the wake up and think of 3 things you're grateful for thing. It really kind of sets your day up. I wouldn't push that if it didn't actually work for me. I was kind of blown away. I wasn't ready for that. It did, like when I originally thought about it, I was like, is this really gonna make a difference whether I do it middle of the day or beginning of the day? And it did. So if you did, I hope that it did something for you as well. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you next week. Love and stuff. Hey, later.